Welcome back, everyone. I see you've been digging into some pretty interesting legal battles,
Oh, yeah.
and looks like you're particularly focused on this one with well,
A certain tech billionaire, shall we say?
yeah, yeah, that's one way to put it.
Always seems to find his way into the headlines.
This case, though,
Yeah.
it really highlights how complex our legal system is,
Really?
especially when you have someone like Elon Musk trying to navigate it.
Yeah.
So, just to kind of set the stage for everyone,
Yeah.
we're talking about Elon Musk's attempt to move a lawsuit
Right.
from a Pennsylvania state court to a federal court.
Interesting case.
And he's facing these accusations from the Philadelphia DA that he's trying to sway the 2024 presidential election.
Wow.
Not through tweets this time,
Oh, really?
but through a $1 million a day lottery.
Okay, so that's what's going on.
So maybe you can fill us in on what
Yeah.
Musk's team was arguing for this change of venue.
Well, they're hoping a federal court might give them a different legal landscape. I see. However, the federal court rejected that,
Wow.
kept the case under Pennsylvania's jurisdiction.
So even with all his resources,
Right.
he can't just choose his preferred court.
It's a good reminder that legal principles apply to everyone.
Exactly, even billionaires.
Exactly.
So one question that keeps coming up is, why didn't Merrick Garland,
Yeah, it's a good question.
the Attorney General, file a federal lawsuit?
Well, it's interesting because Merrick Garland hasn't directly taken action yet, but he did issue a public warning to Musk,
Interesting.
which suggests he might have grounds to act.
Oh, okay.
It's possible Pennsylvania's state laws
Okay.
offer a more direct path for prosecution in this case.
So we have the Philadelphia DA going up against
Right.
one of the wealthiest people in the world.
I mean, that's definitely a David versus Goliath situation in a way.
Right, and does the DA's decision to even pursue this
Yeah.
indicate that they have a strong case?
Well, prosecutors are very careful with their resources, especially when they're facing a really powerful opponent.
Sure.
So the fact they're moving forward does suggest they believe they have a really solid legal footing.
And here's where the timing gets interesting.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more.
The Philadelphia judge set a hearing for November 4th,
Seriously?
literally election eve.
Wow.
Given what Musk is being accused of,
Yeah.
the irony is not lost on anyone.
That timing is definitely noteworthy. Adds another layer to this whole case. And, it's important to remember that the Philadelphia DA,
Yeah.
they have a really deep understanding of local and state laws,
For sure.
particularly ones concerning illegal gaming
Right.
and how they intersect with election law.
So their expertise might actually give them an edge in this case.
It's certainly possible.
Okay, so this case has really captured everyone's attention, but beyond the headlines,
Right.
why should people even care about this?
Well, I think this case goes beyond just a single lawsuit.
Okay.
It makes us ask questions about accountability and the influence of wealth in our legal system.
Yeah, it's a bigger picture kind of thing.
Exactly. And it forces us to really examine how money and power interact with democratic processes.
That's a debate that is definitely relevant today.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, this deep dive has been really insightful so far.
Yeah.
But we've only just scratched the surface.
We have.
So what are some of the deeper legal arguments and potential strategies
Okay.
that we might see as this plays out?
I think to really understand the potential legal strategies here,
Yeah,
we have to dig deeper into the accusations against Musk
right.
and the specific laws the Philadelphia DA is focusing on.
Okay.
So the accusations all revolve around this
Yeah.
$1 million a day lottery.
Right. So can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So the allegations are that Musk started this lottery to support the First and Second Amendments.
Right. But critics argue it was really to get people to vote for Trump.
Yeah. That's the big question,
Is
isn't
that
it?
even legal?
Well, that's what the whole case is about. The Philadelphia DA is focusing on Pennsylvania's laws about illegal gaming
Right.
and how they connect to election law.
Mm-hmm.
They're building their case around the idea that Musk's lottery broke these laws by basically using money to get people to vote a certain way.
So it's not just about proving what Musk was thinking,
Right.
but showing that he actually broke specific laws.
Exactly. They need a direct link between that lottery and some kind of election interference.
Okay, so how would they even argue that? What
Well,
evidence do they need?
they might focus on the timing.
Huh?
Like when the lottery happened so close to the election.
Right.
They might even bring in some experts
Okay.
to talk about how big money can influence people.
I see.
Like maybe it made people feel pressured to vote for a specific candidate.
Because if they didn't,
Yeah,
then they wouldn't win the lottery.
exactly.
But I feel like that's where Musk's team will fight back.
Oh, they definitely will.
They'll say the lottery was just a way of expressing his political views, which is protected by the First Amendment.
Exactly. They'll probably say the DA's being way too broad,
Yeah.
that any kind of political spending could be seen as influencing voters.
Right. Like, where do you draw the line?
Exactly. And they might also say there's no real proof that the lottery actually changed how people voted.
So it all comes down to how the judge sees the law.
Yeah, a really specific part of it.
How do they decide who's right?
The judge will look at what's happened in similar cases before.
Okay.
They'll really dig into all the evidence and then weigh the arguments from both sides.
So they have to decide if the DA actually proved that the lottery crossed the line.
Yeah, cross the line from free speech into messing with the election.
But going back to what we talked about before,
Yeah.
Musk has so much money.
He does.
He can hire all the best lawyers.
A whole army of them.
Can the DA even compete with that?
Well, money definitely matters in legal battles.
Yeah.
But it's not everything. The DA's office might focus on the parts of the case where they have the strongest evidence
Okay.
or the best legal points.
Right, so pick their battles.
Exactly. And they might bring in their own experts.
Like who?
People who really know about campaign finance law
Yeah.
or how to keep elections fair.
So it's not just about having tons of lawyers.
Right.
It's about being smart and having the right people on your side.
It's about having a good strategy and knowing the law really well.
And what about public opinion?
Yeah.
How do you think people see this case?
I think it depends on their political views
Uh-huh.
and how they feel about money and politics.
Yeah.
Some people might think the DA is being a hero.
Taking on a billionaire?
Exactly.
Holding him accountable?
While others might see it as going too far.
Like overstepping?
Yeah.
It really does touch on some big questions
It does.
about money in our democracy
Sure.
and how much influence is too much.
Exactly. It makes us think about free speech,
Yeah.
how we pay for elections,
Sure.
and making sure those elections are fair.
And that hearing on election eve,
Don't forget about that timing.
it makes it even more important, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
What are you going to be watching for as this unfolds in court?
Well, first I'll be looking at how the DA presents their evidence.
Okay.
Can they really show that the lottery was meant to change votes?
Right.
Then I want to see what Musk's lawyers do.
Yeah, what's their strategy?
Are they going to say the law doesn't apply here?
Okay.
Or try to poke holes in the evidence?
This feels like just the beginning
It really does.
of a long and complicated legal fight
Yeah, this case could change how we think about campaign money.
and keeping our elections honest.
It's a big deal.
Okay, so let's say the state case wraps up.
Huh.
Is there any chance of a separate federal case happening later on?
It's definitely possible.
Really?
Even if Musk isn't found guilty in the state case,
Okay.
a federal prosecutor could still come in,
Wow.
especially if they think there's enough proof that he broke federal election laws.
So this could go on for a while.
Oh yeah, this whole thing could go way beyond the state court.
With appeals and maybe even lawsuits going back and forth.
And it could spark a huge debate about the role of money and tech in our elections.
This is really eye-opening.
It is.
But like we've said, there's still so much more to find out.
Absolutely.
So in the next part, we're going to look at some of the big picture effects of this case
Okay.
and talk about what it means for the future of our democracy. This case has really captured people's attention, hasn't it?
Oh, it's definitely got everyone talking.
It seems like it's all over the news.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And everyone's debating the legal stuff.
And all the what ifs.
It's like this case just hits on something that's really worrying people right now.
Like all the power these tech billionaires have.
Right.
And whether our elections are even safe anymore.
And then you add in that the hearing is on election eve.
Oh yeah, the timing of that is just wow.
It's almost poetic in a way.
Like it's this perfect symbol of the fight for our democracy.
It definitely feels like that.
Regardless of how it turns out, this case has already got everyone thinking about
Yeah.
how much influence is too much when it
Right.
comes to politics in this digital age.
So we've talked about the laws and the arguments, but let's zoom out for a minute.
Okay.
What are the bigger implications here for society?
You mean beyond the legal stuff?
Yeah, like what does this tell us about where our democracy is at?
What it really highlights this tension that's growing between
Okay.
the incredible power of these tech billionaires
Right.
and, the basic idea that in a democracy, everyone's supposed to be accountable.
So are you saying our laws aren't ready for this?
Well, it makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Like, are our laws even strong enough to handle these individuals?
Who have so much wealth and influence.
That's a whole new ballgame.
It is kind of unsettling to think someone could just use their money to
Yeah.
tilt an election, even if it's not directly
It makes you question the whole idea of one person, one vote.
right, because if you can just buy your way to a certain
Yeah,
outcome.
then what's the point of even voting?
So what can we even do about this?
What are the solutions?
Are there any reforms that could actually prevent this from happening again?
Well, this case might push people to demand stricter rules about campaign financing.
Especially when it comes to using personal wealth for political gain.
Exactly.
And maybe we need more transparency,
Definitely.
like being able to clearly see what's happening with all the money and influence flowing around.
Like who's funding what and how it might affect elections.
So maybe this whole thing could actually lead to some positive change,
I hope so.
like a real turning point in how we protect our elections.
It could force lawmakers to take a hard look at the rules we have
Yeah.
and come up with new ones that actually work in this new world of tech and big money.
But any kind of change is going to be a fight,
Oh, there's always pushback.
especially from people who say limiting political spending.
Is against their free speech rights.
It's a tough balance, isn't it?
It really is. Like, how do you protect free speech while also stopping people from having too much sway over elections?
That's the heart of this whole case, isn't it?
Yeah, and that debate's going to keep going long after this is all over.
It's complicated with no easy answers.
But at least people are finally talking about it.
Yeah, making it a public issue is a huge first step.
And this case has done that in a big way.
By showing how wealth and technology and democracy are all tangled up together.
We have to keep having this conversation if we want to protect our democracy.
Well, this deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
I'm glad you found it helpful.
We've really gotten into the details of this case.
We've covered a lot of ground,
The legal strategies,
the potential arguments.
and the broader impacts this could have on society.
It's much bigger than just Elon Musk and a lottery.
It's about the core principles of our democracy and how we keep them safe.
This case makes us ask tough questions
Yeah, face some uncomfortable truths.
and have a real debate about what kind of society we want.
It's a reminder that we all have a part to play in shaping our democracy.
We can't just sit back and watch.
We have to stay informed
Talk to each other about these issues.
and hold our leaders accountable
Make sure they're doing everything they can to protect our elections,
and make sure everyone's voice is heard.
no matter how much money they have.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
I hope you learned something new.
And keep thinking about these issues because they're not going away anytime soon.